Was there a particular case or something that happened that was kind of the catalyst behind a lot of this, just your personal and professional growth? Anything that you think back on, you're saying like that specific case either evolved me in this way or changed my perspective, anything like that?
Yeah, I can think back to a case that I had very early on in my career. It lasts for so long. It was probably a 6 or 7 year process. We represented this family, and it was in Memphis. It was a dog bite case, and this older gentleman, I think he was like 72 years old. He was walking from his house to the store, and it was an apartment complex in between his house and the store. And they had somebody who was living in the apartment complex had some vicious pit bulls. And the pit bulls used to get out in the neighborhood and menace everybody. On this particular day, the pit bulls were free. And when the police finally showed up to get the pit bulls and put them away, I get the owner to put them away, they ran the owner's name. He was a sex offender, and he wasn't registered at that address. So they told him to put the dogs up in the apartment. They were going to take him to jail for being in violation of the sex offender registry. Well, with him going to jail and nobody there to care for the dogs, the dogs were running amok in the apartment building, in the apartment itself. And somebody downstairs, I think, called and said the dogs were either chewing on the pipes, or come to find out they were stuck in the house so long by themselves, free, just running around. They were urinating all over the house, and they were dripping down into the apartment below. So the downstairs neighbor called the landlord. Landlord sent somebody over to check on the apartment. He opened the door and saw these maniac pit bulls running crazy. He opened the door and ran off, and they ran out in the neighborhood. And my guy just happened to be walking down the street, and they attacked him. Vicious, violent attack. He ended up having a heart attack. His daughter, his family, different people in the community were trying to run down and save him. But he died. So we ended up trying that case, and it took years to get the trial. And we eventually got that. And during that litigation, the wife died, and it was the family was the decedent, the dad, the mom, and the daughter. That's all they had. They just had each other. And the dad died, mom died during the pendency of litigation. So at trial, I only had the daughter, who was an adult at the time. And we ended up trying that case, and we won, I want to say, $2.6 million. And the judge reduced that case by half, saying that that man wasn't worth that much. That shook me to my core. I struggled with trying to figure out how much money to ask for. And I came up with a number that made sense to me. And the judge said that this person's life wasn't worth that much. So again, it goes to, who are we to put a price on somebody's life like that? And he cut it in half, and we ended up taking the Court of Appeals. And in that case, they upheld the judge's decision, which, judges do what judges do. The Court of Appeals, they're judges just like the trial court. So they all they all stick together like police. But at the end of the day, my remaining client was so happy, not about the money, but about the justice she got that day. Her getting a chance to tell her story and being heard. And fast forward after that trial, maybe 3 years after that, I walked her down the aisle. She didn't have anybody left. And she called me and said, "Could you walk me down the aisle?" And I did. And we've been close ever since. And that's kind of the thing, that it's you give a little bit of yourself every time you take on somebody's case, because you can't do it any other way. Like, it's just not about the money. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't focus on, how much is this case worth? Oh, I take that case. I'll put some energy into that. If I take your case, I'm going to war for you. That's how I was raised. Like, I talk about that all the time. Like, a warrior doesn't fight because he hates what's in front of him. He fights because he loves what's behind him. That's how I am. That's how I was raised. That's what was instilled in me as a child. And that's just, I feel completely at peace and comfortable with being in a situation where I'm fighting for somebody.
And I know you and I have talked about this before. I think the other side of that story, when you look at it, is like, there are not a whole lot of lawyers that would even take a case like that.
Oh, yeah.
You look at where the liability is, you're pursuing it for 6-7 years. Like, what compelled you to do it?
I look at this like as a vocation. I don't look at it like as a profession. I just feel like I needed to fight for that family. And I was told by buku lawyers, it's a dog shit case, like, for lack of a better term, it's a dog shit case. I'm not taking, I can't work, I wouldn't take that case. And then when I got all of that money on the quote unquote money on that case, people were like, oh, he's not gonna collect, they stroked the check. I knew the land, I knew everything. And that's another thing too. When I get involved in a case, I'm down in the nitty gritty. I want to know every single thing about every aspect of that case, because I need to know that. Like, I'm obsessed with knowing every part of a case so I can put forth my best efforts.